Hey there, Sean here, and we're going to open another chapter into the dating experience of a middle-aged man. I was divorced in early 2015. I started dating again, and to catch you up on the story, which I told in a previous video, I was living in my art studio. I converted the conference room into a bedroom. And I remember these times as both awesome and also awful at the same time. And originally I was sleeping at night after everybody went home. I was sleeping in the main room on this leather couch. And the very first night, because I had to move out of my house, and that was a heart-wrenching discussion, because we waited till after the holidays to talk to the kids about it. And of course we had all these support systems set up, and we went about the divorce very carefully. Incidentally, on another video I'm going to talk in general strokes about my first marriage, which is definitely worthwhile in terms of context. And so the first night I slept on this couch, and then I realized in the morning that the couch was super dusty, because I was sneezing a little bit, and it was because typically people didn't sit on that couch a lot. And then the subsequent nights, I actually took these wargaming flats of extruded styrofoam, like these light rectangles, and I created a barrier around the couch. And the reason was, at night, I was in this giant, dark, echoey room, and it was just too weird. I had always slept in a bedroom or a tent or someplace that was enclosed, and I grew up camping and moving around a lot, so I was used to sleeping narrow on cots, on floors, in the washroom, and what's it called, sleeping bags. And so it was a bit of a lonesome time. And then of course I moved into the conference room, and then that seemed like more like a normal bedroom. And so it was pretty brutal. I already talked about the first date I went on, which was off of Craigslist, a first date only. And then around this time I was on a lot of next level groups on Facebook. And I started chatting with this woman who lived out of state. And it was pure magic, because at the time I was really into sort of this mystical law of attraction type thought process, just experimenting with it, learning what it was all about. And of course there's a lot of Facebook pages about this, and of course I started chatting with this woman. And if you saw the other videos I did about catfishing, little red flag should be going up, which is, by the way, beautiful women don't usually chat you up on Facebook unless it's some kind of catfishing deal. But we we did a phone call, and by the way, that's a good interim counter to potential fake profiles. And just be wary, because typically gorgeous women, they've got options, and the flow of the tide is coming towards them, and their job is to just block out the unwanted. They don't have to go out and find some middle-aged guy that's living pathetically in his art studio. And so, and by the way, I'm using alternate names. The names have been changed. So Rose, she talked to me a lot. We would fall asleep together on the phone. And it was really wonderful. It was that magic of really getting to know somebody. And we were talking a lot about very personal topics, where we were going in life, things like that. And so our first date was, she drove from out of state for a magic day in Salt Lake City. And boy, was it magic. It was really amazing to have that purely intellectual and emotional bond first, and then actually meet in person. And we met many subsequent times, and she definitely had a lot of magic to her, and was very educated. She was working on her master's degree, And this was a woman who had a lot of experience in life. She had 2 kids who were, I think, the same age as my youngest at the time. My guess is age 6 and 9. And it was pure magic. Why didn't it work out? It was the distance. And so that is what I learned out of that relationship. And if I were imparting my limited amount of wisdom to someone else going through the same experience, middle-aged man just getting rustily back into dating, it would be to not get into long-distance relationships. The distance will kill the relationship. Now, if you don't really want a real relationship and you just want someone to chat with and have someone to check in on you at night and to eat dinner via Zoom, that's fine. Then just do that. But recognize it for what it is. And my personal view is somebody that's into long-distance relationship really just doesn't want a real complete relationship. And that's where, of course, as a relationship develops, you'll run into hard parameters. And let me tell you exactly what I mean. And first off, this is just me. So other people may have different views on it. I'm sure other people have had amazing long-distance relationships that maybe were fulfilling in themselves, or maybe they turned into something else. But it's being together. And I think ultimately a romantic relationship runs into sharing a house or sharing a bed. And that does solve the togetherness thing. Like if at minimum you are seeing that person at night before you go to sleep and you're waking up and your shoulder is touching their shoulder, then there is this elevated level of closeness. But that, of course, precludes the of having multiple romantic partners. Or does it? That's something that we'll definitely be at least talking about on my private channel. And by the way, if you email me, there's an email in the liner notes here, and you want to get on this very, very small blind carbon copy list for videos that I'm going to make where I'll explore these things a little bit more in depth. And quite frankly, it's really personal. I don't feel like going into these topics blah in public, viewed by hundreds, if not maybe ultimately thousands of people. And so anyway, Rose was amazing. We actually had some contact later on. She ultimately did move into the area, but she was developing a relationship with somebody else, and ultimately it didn't work out. And if you were in my situation, which is married or not dating for whatever reason for a really long time, then all of a sudden middle-aged, which I would class as 40 to 60, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, then my experiences would pertain to you. So that was number 2. Number 3 was a reference. So my first dates didn't come from typical sources. So we've got Craigslist, Facebook. Don't recommend going that way. Don't go on Facebook looking for love and initiating that thing. The thing with Rose was accidental. And to paint a picture, she had platinum blonde hair and black eyes, shark eyes. And she was beautiful. She was amazing. I couldn't. And during the time where we were courting, I would keep a picture of her up on my monitor during the day for inspiration, just to look at her, because I was just like, wow, maybe this manifesting thing does work. And I do believe it does, by the way, and a topic I'll talk about. At the very least, get a vision, set some goals, put something up there that would be amazing, and your brain will tune to that, and at least your eyes will be open to it, rather than, I think a lot of times, as humans, we just discard possibilities because that's the nature of the human brain. Like, I'm not looking at every tree that whizzes by on the freeway. I'm blocking out 90% plus of everything. Okay, so at this time I was doing a relationship show. I ended up never publishing it. I might put those files on my secret alternate channel. So I had these two young women come in, and they were gender fluid, something I had never heard about before. So I was interviewing them about it. I was very excited to hear about it. And so they looked at each other, near the end of the interview, they looked at her and at each other, and they said, you know who he'd be perfect for? It's Mindy. And I'm like, oh, Mindy, is a miracle about to happen in my life? I don't know, maybe. And so they called her up, and they did give me a little disclaimer that she was a stripper. And this is a complete other topic, but I guess that's a profession, and it may affect how a relationship has to be approached, as you shall see presently. So they call her up. They say, hey, there's this guy that explained the situation. We think you should meet him. Is it okay if he calls you? And I was like, hey, how about right away? And so I call her up on the spot. My name is Sean. This is my deal. I'd like to take you out to Italian. And she says, well, actually, you can just come see my show on Tuesday at such and such club. And I said, I'm not interested in that. I would actually like to get to know you and see if there's a potential for a real relationship. And that's where I was at the time. And she said, oh, okay. And that's what I had. And we were dating for a little while. And it's because of her profession, she obviously had to modulate all these other men of, how they would approach her, like waiting for her in the parking lot. That's a big no-no. And so, oh boy, how much in detail can I get into this? Well, I'll just save that for the other channel. And so it was interesting, but I blew it. She was obviously very attractive, and she had a lot of skill in relationships, again, because of the modulation due to profession. And of course, if a woman is very beautiful, that has a lot of baggage that has to do with how our society is. Like, we value looks in a woman so much that almost every other factor falls by the wayside. And I have to say I blew it, because I started feeling like I had to be something that I wasn't, and to present, what's the word I'm looking for? Because at the time my business was really struggling, and the money really wasn't there. And of course, looking back at it, the best thing to have done is to have put my cards on the table and said, hey, this is me, this is my situation. And I think she detected that, and it soured things for her, and that of course was the end of it. And that was into February-ish. I think that was winding down. And you might think, yeah, I got a lot done in a couple of months, guys. And so that was interesting. I learned a lot, and definitely I think women in general are good at assessing, and their ears are up, and they're looking for things that maybe don't add up. And I'm convinced one of my big takeaways after this 100 first dates, and even beyond that, was that a woman will make her assessment, and then once she says yes, then it's like all your weaknesses go away. They're not looking for that anymore, and they'll accept and help you and bolster you in a lot of different ways. And in general, I call that the loyalty switch, which is it's in her brain, and if that switch gets flicked on, the game changes. And so to be aware of that and be able to sense it and understand what's happening, oh boy, I could seriously talk for an hour on this one topic. And it was something that at this stage with Mindy, I didn't understand how all of this worked. And of course my wardrobe wasn't very good at the time either. And having a nice wardrobe and dressing nicely, unlike this t-shirt I'm in, is definitely part of it. And it's not fake, not like dressing up to present as something that you're not, but to actually jive the two things. where personal grooming and presentation matches what's actually inside. And this has to do with total other conversations. Well, is that enough? Should I do one? Should I do one more? I had. Oh yeah, I actually talked about another one who I thought was the second one, but wasn't when I went back to check everything. And that was, of course, the woman from Taiwan. And you might think, well, what does it matter what country this person is from? Well, there are cultural things that come up. And that's another topic. And then there was... oh my gosh, I'm trying to get it all straight without my notes. Yeah, I think that's as far as I'm going to take the tale today. We're not too far off from Luli, with whom I am currently married, and that is an exciting 1-hour story all in itself. Probably I could talk for 2 hours. That's going to be a big part of the book too. And so there you have it. I was out for the first time, getting all this stuff sorted out, getting perspective, understanding myself, and trying to get in harmony with my surroundings. All right, that's all I got to talk about today. Thanks for tuning in. And by the way, if you're interested in tagging along for the deeper tale, or you think you might actually benefit from it, check the liner notes for that email. Just send me an email. I'd like to be on your list, and I will. I'm going to get that going for sure, because I'm up in the middle of the night, and it's all just coming to me. I should have a notebook out. All right, off I go.